How I Learned to Speak English. My Journey to Success. Hello, everyone. My name is Maria, and today I want to share my story about how I learned to speak English. English has truly transformed my life. It gave me opportunities to make amazing friends, dream big, and achieve things I never thought possible. But let me tell you, it wasn't always easy. When I started, I felt scared. I didn't know many words, and my accent was different. I worried people might laugh at me or judge me. If you feel the same way, let me assure you, you're not all. The good news is, if I can learn English, you can too. Let me share how I did it, step by step. Mistakes are part of learning. At first, I was afraid to make mistakes. I thought people would laugh at me. But then, I realized something important. Mistakes are a natural part of learning. Think about how a baby learns to walk. The baby falls so many times but never gives up. It gets back up and keeps trying until it can walk confidently. Learning English is just like that. Yes, you might feel shy or embarrassed at times, but that's okay. Mistakes help us grow. If you don't try, you'll never improve. It's like learning to swim. At first, it feels scary to jump into the water, but once you start, it gets easier. Listen, listen, listen. Of the first things I did to improve my English was listening. Listening is so important because it helps your ears get used to the sounds of English. I started by listening to English songs and watching simple shows. At first, I didn't understand much, but over time, I began recognizing words and phrases. Think of it like learning music. The more you listen, the more familiar it becomes. For example, if you listen to a song repeatedly, you eventually learn the lyrics, right? The same thing happens with language. Talk to yourself. Talking is just as important as listening. But what if you don't have any to practice with? Here's what I did. I talked to myself in English. Yes, it felt strange at first, but it helped me a lot. For example, I would pretend to have conversations with myself. I'd ask questions like, "What should I eat today?" and then answer, "Maybe I'll have pasta." It was a simple way to practice forming sentences. You can do this too. Don't worry if your sentences aren't perfect. Just try. People are kinder than you think. When I started speaking English with others, I was nervous. I thought people would laugh at me. But guess what? Most people were kind and helpful. They appreciated my efforts and even corrected me gently. So don't let fear hold you back. Smile, take a deep breath, and start talking. The more you speak, the easier it becomes. Reading out loud. Reading out loud is another great way to practice. When you read, your brain gets used to saying the words and your pronunciation improves. I used to read simple books or even advertisements aloud. It was like exercise for my brain. For example, if I saw a poster that said, "Big sale tomorrow," I'd read it out loud. Over time, this small habit made a big difference. Set small goals. Learning English can feel overwhelming, so it's important to set small, achievable goals. For example, I decided to learn 5 new words every day. The next day, I practiced using those words in sentences. Small steps add up. Think of it like climbing a mountain. You don't reach the top in giant leap. You take step at a time, and eventually, you get there. Celebrate each small success along the way. Keep a journal. Thing that really helped me was keeping a journal. Every night I wrote or sentences about my day in English. For example, I'd write, "Today was sunny, and I went to the park." Over time, my sentences became longer and more detailed. You can try this too. It's a simple way to practice thinking in English and improving your writing skills. Think in English. At first, I used to translate everything in my head from my native language to English, but this was slow and confusing, so I started thinking directly in English. For example, when I saw an apple, I'd think, apple, instead of translating the word. It's just like learning to dance. At first, you think about every step, but with practice, it becomes natural. Practice with friends. Another great tip is to find friends who are also learning English. You can meet up and agree to speak only in English. Practicing together makes learning more fun and less stressful. For example, I used to meet my friend Sarah at a cafe every weekend. We'd order coffee in English and talk about simple topics like movies or food. And watch and observe. When I was learning English, I watched a lot of movies and shows. At first, I didn't understand much, but I kept watching. I paid attention to how people used their hands, faces, and voices to express themselves. Language is not just about words. It's about emotions, too. For example, if you're happy, smile while you speak. If you're confused, show it on your face. These small things make your communication more natural. Never give up. Sometimes I felt stuck, like I wasn't improving. This happens to and it's completely normal. Learning a language is like climbing a hill. Some days are easy and others are tough, but the key is to keep moving forward. Whenever I felt discouraged, I reminded myself why I started. I wanted to travel, make friends, and achieve my dreams. These thoughts kept me motivated. Believe in yourself. Lastly, the most important thing is to believe in yourself. If you tell yourself, "I can do this," you will find the strength to keep going. But if you think, "This is too hard," it will feel impossible. Learning English is like growing a tree. You water it every day, and it grows little by little. You'll look back and see how far you've come. Conclusion. So, start today. Speak as much as you can. Don't worry about mistakes. They're part of the process. Remember, every time you practice, you get better. You'll be able to say, "I did it," just like I did. And trust me, that feeling is worth all the effort. Keep going, keep speaking, and never stop learning. You've got this. Chapter 2. The Power of Listening. Hello again. Welcome to Chapter 2, where we explore an essential skill in learning English. Listening. When I first started learning English, I believed that speaking was the most important skill. However, I soon realized that listening was just as crucial, if not more so. It plays a huge role in helping you understand the language, learn new words, and eventually speak fluently. Why listening matters. Listening is like opening the door to a whole new world of English. When you listen, you expose yourself to how the language sounds naturally. You hear new words, understand how sentences are formed, and even pick up the rhythm and TI of English. The more you listen, the more familiar you become with the language, and speaking starts to feel easier. I still remember when I first listened to English songs. At first, I couldn't understand the words. It felt like they were singing too fast. But I didn't give up. I listened again and again, and slowly, I began to recognize certain words and phrases. Even if I didn't know the meaning of every word, I could guess from the context. This small progress motivated me to keep going. What to listen to? There are so many things you can listen to in English. 1. Songs. If you love music, start with your favorite English songs. Even if you don't understand everything, enjoy the melody and try to catch a few words. 2. Podcasts. These are perfect because you can find on almost any topic you like. Whether it's about sports, cooking, or travel, there's something for every three. News. Listening to news helps you learn formal English and understand global topics. 4. TV shows and movies. These are fun and often give you exposure to conversational English. For beginners, start with something simple and enjoyable. For example, if you're a fan of comedy, try watching short sitcoms in English. If you like action, find an English movie with subtitles to help you follow along. Tips to improve your listening skills. 1. Start easy and build confidence. Don't feel pressured to understand everything right away. Choose content suited to your level. For example, children's TV shows or simple podcasts are a great starting point. These often use basic vocabulary and slower speech. 2. Use subtitles. When watching a movie or TV show, turn on the English subtitles. This way, you can see the words as you hear them. It's a great way to connect the spoken words with their written form. Over time, you'll rely less on subtitles. 3. Pay attention to sounds. English has unique sounds that may not exist in your language. For example, the teach sound in think or that can be tricky. When you listen, focus on how native speakers pronounce these sounds. The more you practice listening, the easier it becomes to hear these small differences. Overcoming challenges. Listening can be frustrating at first. It might feel like every is speaking too fast, and you can't catch the words. Don't worry, this is completely normal. Here's what you can do. Repeat and replay. If you don't understand something, replay it. Many podcasts and audiobooks allow you to rewind and listen again. Guess the meaning. Even if you don't know every word, try to guess its meaning from the context. For instance, if you hear, "It's a sunny day," and don't know the word sunny, you can guess it means something good about the weather. Listen daily. Consistency is key. Just 15 minutes of listening every day can make a big difference over time. Fun ways to practice listening. 1. Sing along. Pick an English song you enjoy and sing along. This is a fun way to improve your listening and pronunciation. For example, you can try popular songs like Imagine by John Lennon or something from a Disney movie. Singing helps you practice rhythm and stress in sentences. 2. Podcasts and audiobooks. Podcasts are great because you can listen while walking, cooking, or cleaning. Audiobooks, on the other hand, allow you to listen and read at the same time. For example, you can listen to a story like The Little Prince while following along in the book. This doubles your learning. You see how words are spelled and hear how they're pronounced. 3. Practice with friends. If you have a friend or classmate learning English, practice together. Watch a short video or listen to a podcast and then discuss it. Sharing ideas helps you understand better. 4. Imitate native speakers. After listening to something, try to repeat it out loud. For instance, if you're watching a show and hear some say, "How are you doing?" Pause the video and say it yourself. This helps you improve your speaking and listening at the same time. Listening to different types of English, it's important to expose yourself to different accents and styles of English. For example, American English. Watch Hollywood movies or listen to American podcasts. British English. Try watching BBC shows or listening to British podcasts. Australian English. Check out Australian YouTubers or TV shows. Each accent has its own unique sounds, and practicing with various accents will prepare you for real-life conversations. Staying motivated. Remember, it's okay if you don't understand everything at first. The key is to keep listening every day. Little by little, you'll notice improvement. Words will start to sound clearer, and you'll understand conversations more easily. Here's a small challenge. Listen to something in English every day for a week. By the end of the week, you'll feel more confident. Conclusion: listening is one of the most powerful tools for learning English. It helps you understand how the language works, improves your pronunciation, and prepares you for real-life conversations. Whether it's through songs, podcasts, movies, or audiobooks, find something you enjoy and make listening a daily habit. In the next chapter, we'll focus on speaking and how to put everything you've learned into practice. For now, keep listening, stay curious, and enjoy the journey. Remember, every minute you spend listening brings you a step closer to fluency. Simple Spoken English. Chapter 3. Practicing Speaking. Hello, students. Welcome back to another chapter on improving your English skills. Today, we'll talk about the most exciting and essential parts of learning English, speaking. Speaking might seem challenging at first, but don't worry. Just like any other skill, in this chapter, I want to share some simple tips, relatable examples, and techniques to help you become more confident in speaking English. Remember, learning to speak a new language is like learning to ride a bicycle. You might stumble in the beginning, but with regular effort, you'll eventually ride smoothly. Why speaking is important. Speaking is the key to communicating in any language. It's how we express our thoughts, ideas, and feelings. But for many learners, it feels like the hardest part. I know this because I've been there. When I first started learning English, I was nervous about speaking. I was afraid of making mistakes and worried about what others might think. However, I realized that mistakes are a natural part of learning. Everyone makes them. The most important thing is to keep trying. Start small. Talk to yourself. Of the easiest ways to begin practicing speaking is by talking to yourself. Yes, you heard that right. You don't need a partner to start. When I was learning, I would ask myself simple questions like, "What should I cook for dinner?" Or, "How was my day today?" Then I would answer these questions in English. For example, "What did I do today? I went to the market, cleaned my room, and read a book." "How am I feeling?" "I'm feeling happy because I learned a new word." At first, it might feel strange to talk to yourself, but it's an excellent way to build confidence. Plus, no one is there to judge you, so you can practice without any fear. Listen and repeat. Another great way to improve your speaking skills is by repeating what you hear. For example, when you listen to a podcast, a favorite song, or watch a video, try to mimic the words and sentences. Focus on how the speakers pronounce words, their T and rhythm. Let's say you're listening to a song. Try singing along, even if it's just line at a time. If you're watching a movie, pick a sentence you like and repeat it. For instance, movie line, "Can you help me with this?" Your practice. Repeat it several times until it feels natural. This technique helps you sound more fluent and improves your pronunciation. Start with simple words and sentences. Don't feel pressured to use big words or complex grammar when you're starting out. The goal is to communicate. Simple sentences like, "I like coffee," "The weather is nice today," "I am learning English." These may seem basic, but they are the foundation for more complex conversations. Practicing these sentences helps you gain confidence. Practice with a partner or group. If you have a friend who is also learning English, practice together. You can take turns asking and answering questions. For example, you, "What's your favorite movie?" Your friend, "My favorite movie is The Lion King. What about you?" If you don't have any nearby, don't worry. There are many online language groups and forums where learners from different parts of the world connect to practice. These groups are an excellent way to practice speaking and make new friends. Use apps to practice. Technology makes learning easier than ever. There are many apps available where you can practice speaking English. Some apps connect you with people from different countries who are learning your native language. You can help them with your language, and they'll help you with English. It's a win-win. Turn speaking into a game. Learning is more fun when it feels like a game. Pick a topic, like your favorite hobby, your last vacation, or what you ate for breakfast, and talk about it in English for a minute. Don't worry about mistakes. The goal is to keep speaking. For example, topic, your favorite hobby. Practice, I love painting. I usually paint on weekends. My favorite colors are blue and green. If you do this every day, you'll notice improvement in no time. Practice everyday situations. Another way to build confidence is by practicing sentences you might use in real life. Imagine you're at a store. What would you say to the cashier? Practice sentences like, "How much does this cost?" "I would like to buy this." "Do you have this in a different size?" When these situations happen in real life, you'll feel more prepared and confident. Use body language. Speaking isn't just about words. Your T, facial expressions, and body language also matter. For example, if you're happy, let your face show it. Smile when you speak. If you're confused, it's okay to show that too. People will understand you better when your body language matches your words. Don't fear mistakes. Making mistakes is a natural part of learning. When I started, I made many mistakes. But instead of feeling embarrassed, I used them as opportunities to learn. If you don't know a word, don't hesitate to ask, "How do I say this in English?" "What is the English word for this?" People are usually kind and happy to help. Remember, every was a learner at some point. Read out loud. Reading out loud is an excellent way to practice speaking. Choose a book, an article, or even a short story you enjoy and read it aloud. Focus on pronouncing each word clearly. Over time, this will improve your pronunciation and help you feel more comfortable speaking. Practice with movies and TV shows. When you watch a movie or TV show, repeat the sentences the characters say. For example, if a character says, "Good morning, how are you?" Pause the video and say it yourself. This helps you practice both speaking and listening skills at the same time. Set small goals. Setting small, achievable goals can keep you motivated. For example, Week 1, speak sentence in English every day. Week 2, have a 1-minute conversation with a friend. Week 3, join an online language group and introduce yourself. Each time you achieve a goal, you'll feel more confident and ready to tackle the next challenge. Consistency is key. The most important tip is to practice every day, even if it's just for 5 to 10 minutes. Whether you're talking to yourself, reading out loud, or practicing with a friend, consistency will help you improve faster. Celebrate your progress. Finally, be proud of yourself. Learning a new language takes time and effort. Celebrate small achievements like learning a new word or having your first conversation. Every step you take brings you closer to fluency. Conclusion. Speaking English might feel scary at first, but with regular practice, it will become easier. Talk to yourself, listen and repeat, practice with friends or apps, and don't fear mistakes. Remember, the goal is not to be perfect, but to communicate. Keep speaking, stay consistent, and enjoy the process. You're doing great, and soon you'll feel confident and proud of your progress. Keep going. You've got this. Chapter 4. The Importance of Reading. Hello, every. Welcome back to another chapter of learning English together. Today, we're going to talk about something very important. Reading. Reading is of the most effective ways to improve your English skills. It helps you learn new words, understand how sentences are formed, and build your overall confidence with the language. Let's explore how reading can help you and how you can make it a part of your daily life. Why reading matters. When I started learning English, I didn't pay much attention to reading. I thought it was enough to listen to people or watch videos. But once I started reading regularly, I noticed a big change. I understood conversations better, I could write more clearly, and my vocabulary grew faster than before. Reading gave me a deeper understanding of the language that no other method could. Let's break it down into simple steps so you can start your reading journey too. Step 1. Start small and simple. You don't need to pick a thick novel or a complicated textbook right away. Start with books that match your current level. Many publishers create books specifically for English learners. These books use simple vocabulary and short sentences, making them perfect for beginners. For example, if you're just starting, pick stories like The Adventures of Little Joe or Sonny's Big Day. These types of books are easy to follow and can boost your confidence. If books aren't your thing, you can also find websites with simple English stories or news articles designed for learners. For instance, you can try short online stories about animals, travel, or daily life. Step 2. Expand your vocabulary. Of the best things about reading is that you'll encounter many new words. At first, you might not understand all of them, but don't worry. Keep a small notebook or use an app on your PH to write down the new words you come across. For example, if you're reading a story about a bakery and come across the word need, you can look it up. Write it down along with its meaning, to press and stretch dough when making bread. Try to use these new words in your daily conversations or writing. For example, I learned how to knead dough when I visited my grandmother's bakery. Using the words in sentences will help you remember them better. You can also create flashcards to review them later. Apps like Anki or Quizlet are great for this. Step 3. Learn grammar naturally. Reading is like a free grammar lesson. When you read, you see how sentences are structured, how verbs are used, and where prepositions fit. For example, a sentence like, "She went to the market yesterday," teaches you how past tense works. Or, "Could you pass me the salt?" shows you how polite requests are formed. By reading often, you'll start noticing these patterns without even trying. Eventually, you'll use them naturally when speaking or writing. Step 4. Improve your writing skills. Have you ever wondered how writers create such beautiful sentences? Reading regularly gives you a chance to observe and learn from them. You'll notice how they start their stories, how they connect ideas, and how they end with a strong conclusion. For instance, if you read an article about wildlife, you might see how it describes animals with phrases like, "The majestic tiger roamed the dense forest." You can practice by imitating these styles. Try writing a short paragraph about your day or your favorite hobby using the techniques you've learned. Step 5. Build a reading habit. The key to improving through reading is consistency. Start small. Just 10 or 15 minutes a day is enough. You could read a chapter of a book in the morning, a blog post about cooking during lunch, a short news article before bed. Make it part of your routine. Over time, you'll find it easier to stick with it. And don't forget to celebrate small milestones. For example, when you finish your first book in English, treat yourself. It's a big achievement. Step 6. Read aloud for pronunciation practice. Reading aloud is a fantastic way to improve your pronunciation and fluency. When you read out loud, you hear how words sound and practice forming sentences smoothly. For example, take a simple story like "The Brave Little Cat." Read a paragraph aloud, paying attention to the rhythm and pronunciation. If you're shy, practice owl. This way, you can build your confidence without feeling self-conscious. Over time, you'll notice that speaking English feels more natural. Step 7. Repetition and pictures help. Don't be afraid to reread stories you like. For example, if you enjoyed a short story about a boy exploring a new city, read it again. The second or third time, you'll notice things you missed before, and it will help you remember new words better. If you're a visual learner, try picture books or illustrated stories. These are especially helpful for beginners because the pictures help you guess the meaning of unknown words. For example, if a character in the story is brushing her teeth, and you see an illustration of her doing it, you'll understand the phrase without needing a dictionary. Step 8. Explore what you love. Reading is more fun when you choose topics you enjoy. For example, if you love sports, read articles about your favorite players. If you enjoy animals, read stories about wildlife or pets. When I started, I loved reading travel blogs about different countries. They introduced me to exciting vocabulary like adventure, destination, and journey. Find your passion and dive into it. Step 9. Variety is key. Don't limit yourself to just books. Explore blogs, online stories, news websites, and even social media posts written in English. Each type of content will expose you to different writing styles and vocabulary. For example, reading a blog about cooking might teach you words like chop, stir, or bake, while a news article might introduce formal phrases like according to the report. Step 10. Learn the culture behind the language. Reading doesn't just teach you words. It also helps you understand the culture of English-speaking countries. For example, reading stories set in London or New York can show you how people there live, talk, and think. This cultural knowledge will help you feel more connected to the language. Conclusion. Take the first step. Remember, reading is a skill that takes time and patience. Don't rush yourself. Start small, choose topics you love, and enjoy the journey. Every page you read brings you closer to fluency. So pick up a book or find a story online today and start reading. You'll be amazed at how much you can learn. Keep going. And remember, every step you take is progress. Happy reading. Chapter 5. The Power of Listening. Hello and welcome back. In this chapter, we'll explore a skill that is often underestimated but incredibly important: listening. If you're learning English, listening is of the best ways to improve your understanding, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Let's dive into why it's so powerful and how you can use it effectively to boost your English skills. Why listening matters. Listening is like opening a window to a new language. When you hear English being spoken, you not only learn new words, but also how they are pronounced, how sentences flow, and how people express themselves naturally. Think of it as learning to swim. You won't master it by just reading books about swimming. You need to dive into the water. Similarly, immersing yourself in spoken English will help you get comfortable with the language. When I first started learning English, listening was my biggest challenge. I could read and write well, but spoken English felt too fast. Words blurred together, and I often felt lost. It was frustrating, but I soon realized that listening is a skill, and like any skill, it gets better with practice. Tips for improving listening skills. 1. Choose topics you enjoy. Of the best ways to make listening fun is to focus on topics that interest you. Love sports? Listen to sports commentary or interviews in English. Enjoy music? Start with English songs. Lyrics can be a great way to learn new phrases. Like movies? Watch your favorite genres in English. For example, imagine you're a fan of football. Tune in to English match commentaries or interviews with players. You'll not only enjoy yourself, but also pick up useful expressions like, "What a fantastic goal," or "The team worked hard for this win." 2. Start simple and build up. Begin with materials designed for English learners, such as podcasts or YouTube channels where people speak slowly and clearly. Shows like these help you understand without feeling overwhelmed. For instance, you can listen to a beginner-friendly podcast where a host tells simple stories or discusses everyday topics. Gradually, as you improve, challenge yourself with faster and more complex audio, like news reports or movies without subtitles. 3. Use subtitles wisely. Watching videos or movies with English subtitles is incredibly helpful. You hear the words and see them at the same time, which strengthens your understanding. For example, if you're watching a cooking show, you'll see phrases like chop the onions or simmer for 5 minutes. This connects the actions to the words. 4. Practice active listening. Listening isn't just about hearing, it's about understanding. When you listen, focus on words or phrases you already know. Don't panic if you miss some words. Try to catch the overall meaning. Replay difficult parts to catch more details. For instance, if you're listening to a travel podcast about Paris, you might hear the host mention Eiffel Tower, breathtaking views, and tourists. Even if you don't understand every sentence, you can guess the topic. Real-life listening. Listening to real conversations can be a goldmine for learning natural English. For example, eavesdrop politely on conversations in public places if you're in an English-speaking environment. Watch interviews or reality shows where people speak informally. If you hear people discussing a holiday, you might not know every word, but context and tea can fill in the gaps. If they're smiling and saying, "It was amazing," you know they had a great time. Mistakes are part of the process. When I started learning English, I made the mistake of focusing only on reading and writing. I avoided listening because it felt too hard. But when I forced myself to listen more, whether it was music, podcasts, or conversations, I noticed big improvements. Remember, even native English speakers don't understand every single word in every situation. The key is to focus on the main idea. Don't worry about perfection. Just keep practicing. Fun ways to practice. 1. Imitate what you hear. Pick a song, podcast, or even a movie scene, and try repeating what you hear. Mimic the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and tea. For example, if a character in a movie says, "I can't believe this is happening," try saying it the same way they do. It's like rehearsing a line in a play. 2. Take notes. While listening, jot down important words or phrases as you listen. For example, if you're listening to the news, write down key points like rainy weather, traffic jam, or celebration in the city. If it's a story, summarize the main events. This helps improve your listening and writing skills at the same time. 3. Work on difficult sounds. Some sounds in English, like the thire in this or think, can be tricky. Pay attention to these sounds when you listen and practice saying them. You'll notice improvement with time. 4. Mix it up. Don't stick to just type of audio. Explore different accents, speeds, and topics. For example, listen to a British cooking show, then switch to an American podcast about technology. Try an Australian wildlife documentary next. Stay motivated. It's normal to feel frustrated when you don't understand everything right away. The secret is consistency. Even listening for just 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference over time. Start with short audio clips, and as you build confidence, move on to longer S. Listening and vocabulary. Listening is a fantastic way to expand your vocabulary. When you hear a new word, write it down and look it up later. Over time, you'll recognize it in different contexts and remember how to use it. For example, if you hear the phrase, "turn a blind eye" in a podcast, you might not know what it means. But after hearing it a few more times, you'll learn that it means to ignore something on purpose. Conclusion. Listening is of the most important skills for learning English. It helps you understand the language, improves your pronunciation, and builds your confidence. The more you listen, the easier it becomes, and the more fun it gets. So start today. Find something you enjoy, whether it's a podcast, a song, or a movie, and listen with purpose. Don't give up, and remember, every minute you spend listening brings you closer to fluency. Keep practicing, stay patient, and soon you'll find yourself understanding and speaking English effortlessly. Let's keep learning together. Simple Spoken English, Chapter 6, Speaking with Confidence. Hello, and welcome to Simple Spoken English. In today's chapter, we'll talk about of the most essential skills in learning English. Speaking. Many people feel nervous or shy when it comes to speaking in a new language. If this sounds like you, don't worry. It's completely normal. Everyone feels unsure at first, but with consistent practice and the right mindset, you can overcome this and speak English with confidence. Understanding the fear of speaking. When I started learning English, I was terrified of making mistakes. I worried people would laugh at me or judge my accent. These fears made me hesitant to even try. But over time, I realized something important. Making mistakes is a natural part of learning. If you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing yourself enough to improve. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. You probably fell a few times, but you didn't give up, right? Speaking English is no different. Step 1. Practice without fear. The first step to speaking confidently is letting go of the fear of mistakes. Here's a story from my own experience. When I was learning, I started practicing with a close friend. We made a deal to correct each other's mistakes, but in a kind and encouraging way. This helped me feel less afraid and more motivated. If you have a friend or family member who speaks English, ask them to practice with you. If you don't have some to practice with, don't worry. You can talk to yourself. Yes, it might feel silly at first, but it's a great way to build confidence. For example, try describing your day out loud. Today, I woke up at 7 a.m., had a cup of tea, and went to the park for a walk. This simple exercise gets you used to hearing your own voice in English. Step 2. Start small and simple. When I first started, I didn't try to speak like a native speaker right away. Instead, I used simple sentences and everyday words. For example, instead of saying, "I feel extremely fatigued," I would say, "I am very tired." The goal was to speak clearly and be understood. Over time, as my confidence grew, I started using more complex sentences. Remember, it's okay to start small. For instance, when ordering food, you can say, "I'd like a sandwich, please," instead of worrying about longer, more advanced sentences. The key is to build a strong foundation and gradually expand your skills. Step 3. Practice in different situations. To improve, try practicing in various situations. If you're at home, talk to yourself or read aloud from a book. If you're at work or school, challenge yourself to speak in English with classmates or colleagues. For example, you can say, "Can you help me with this project?" Or, "What did you do over the weekend?" The more you expose yourself to real-life scenarios, the more natural speaking will feel. Even simple interactions, like asking for directions or ordering coffee, can be excellent practice opportunities. Step 4. Listening to improve speaking. Here's a secret. Listening is just as important as speaking. When you listen to English, you learn how sentences are formed, how words are pronounced, and how people naturally communicate. Watch English TV shows, listen to podcasts, or enjoy English songs. For example, you might listen to a podcast about travel or watch a movie set in a city you love. As you listen, pay attention to how people express themselves. Try repeating phrases or sentences you hear. This will not only improve your pronunciation, but also help you feel more comfortable speaking. Step 5. Expanding your vocabulary. The more words you know, the easier it is to express yourself. Strategy I used was creating a daily word list. For example, if I learned the word bicycle, I would practice using it in sentences like, "I ride my bicycle every morning." This way, I not only learn the meaning of the word, but also how to use it naturally. If you forget a word during a conversation, don't panic. Try describing it instead. For example, if you forget the word umbrella, you can say, "the thing that protects me from the rain." People will understand, and this builds your problem-solving skills in English. Step 6. Asking questions. Sometimes speaking can feel hard because you're unsure what to say. When this happens, try asking questions. For example, you can ask, "What's your favorite food?" Or, "Do you like traveling?" People enjoy talking about themselves, and asking questions shows that you're interested in them. This is a great way to keep conversations going. Step 7. Don't worry about your accent. Many learners worry about their accent. But here's the truth. Your accent is part of who you are. What matters most is that people understand you. Over time, as you practice, your pronunciation will naturally improve. Instead of aiming for a perfect accent, focus on speaking clearly and confidently. Step 8. Build confidence with simple exercises. Exercise that helped me was setting a timer for minutes and speaking non-stop in English. I would talk about anything, my plans for the day, my hobbies, or even what I had for breakfast. It didn't matter if I made mistakes. The goal was to keep talking. This exercise helped me feel more comfortable and reduced my fear of speaking. Another helpful tip is to speak slowly. When I started, I tried to speak quickly to sound more fluent, but I realized this often led to mistakes. Speaking slowly gave me more time to think and made me easier to understand. Step 9. Practice. Every day, consistency is key. Even if you only practice for 5 minutes a day, it makes a difference. For example, you could practice with a friend, record yourself speaking, or even join an online language group. Daily practice builds confidence and helps you improve faster. If you feel nervous, take a deep breath. It's okay to feel this way. Most people do when learning a new language. The more you practice, the less nervous you'll feel. Step 10. Surround yourself with positive people. Speak with people who encourage and support you. Avoid those who make fun of your mistakes. Remember, making mistakes is part of the learning process. If you don't understand something, don't hesitate to ask for clarification. You can say, "Can you repeat that, please?" Or, "Can you explain it differently?" Most people are happy to help. Final thoughts. Speaking with confidence takes time and effort, but it's worth it. Start small, practice every day, and listen to English often. Use simple sentences, ask questions, and focus on being understood rather than perfect. As you keep practicing, speaking will feel easier and more natural. You'll look back and be amazed at how far you've come. So, keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, every mistake is a step toward improvement. Chapter 7. Reading and Writing in English. Welcome to Simple Spoken English. In this chapter, we're going to dive into very important skills for learning English, reading and writing. These skills are like sides of the same coin. They help you understand the language better and improve your ability to communicate clearly. Even if you find speaking English to be the hardest part, focusing on reading and writing can make your overall learning journey much easier. Let me share my own experience. When I began learning English, reading was of the first things I tried, and I found it fun. At first, I chose simple books, like children's books or short, easy stories. These kinds of books are perfect for beginners because they use simple language and often include pictures. The illustrations made it easier to guess the meaning of new words. If you're just starting out, pick books or materials that match your current level. Don't stress if you don't understand every word or sentence. It's completely normal. Keep going, and you'll find that it gets easier with time. Make reading fun and meaningful. Reading isn't limited to books. You can explore articles, newspapers, websites, or even something as simple as recipes if you enjoy cooking. Let's say you're a sports fan. Why not read sports news in English? If you like travel, you can read travel blogs or guides. The key is to choose topics that interest you. When you enjoy what you're reading, it doesn't feel like a chore, and you'll naturally learn more. When I started reading, I didn't understand every word. Sometimes I looked up unfamiliar words in a dictionary, but often I guessed their meanings from the sentences. This is called using context clues, and it's a great way to improve your vocabulary without feeling overwhelmed. If you come across a word you don't know, don't stop reading. Try to understand the overall meaning of the sentence or paragraph. Over time, you'll pick up a lot of new words this way. Another helpful tip is to read out loud. When you read aloud, you practice both pronunciation and speaking skills. It's like speaking English without the pressure of having a conversation. It also helps you get used to the rhythm and flow of the language. Set aside just 10 minutes a day to read aloud. It can make a big difference. Setting small reading goals. Start with small goals. For example, you can aim to read a page a day or spend 10 minutes reading every evening. You don't need to read for hours to see improvement. The key is consistency. As you get better, you can challenge yourself with more difficult materials, but always make sure the content is enjoyable and understandable. When you find new words while reading, write them down in a notebook. Later, you can look them up and try using them in sentences. This habit helps you remember the words better and makes your learning more effective. Writing. Your path to expression. Now let's talk about writing. Writing is just as important as reading. It helps you practice the language, organize your thoughts, and become more confident in using English. When I started learning English, my writing was very simple. I wrote short sentences like, "I like apples," or "Today is sunny." Over time, I got better by practicing every day. Don't worry if your sentences aren't perfect. Nobody's is when they first start. The more you write, the more you'll improve. Great way to practice writing is by keeping a journal. Each day, write about what you did, your plans, or your feelings. For example, you could write, "Today I went to the park. The weather was nice and I saw many people playing football." It doesn't matter if your writing is short or simple. What matters is that you're practicing. If you don't know a word, try to describe it using simpler language. For instance, if you can't think of the word delicious, you can use tasty instead. Writing for real-life situations. You can also practice writing by sending emails or letters. For example, write an email to a friend about your day or your weekend plans. If you don't have any to email, write to yourself. Write about your goals or something you're excited about. This kind of practice not only improves your writing, but also helps you think in English. Mistakes are a natural part of learning, so don't be afraid to make them. When I was learning, I made many mistakes, but I saw them as opportunities to learn. After writing, you can review your sentences and correct any errors. Over time, you'll notice fewer mistakes and more confidence in your writing. And creative writing and fun exercises. Another fun way to improve your writing is by telling short stories or describing pictures. For example, look at a picture and write a few sentences about what's happening in it. In the picture, there is a boy playing with a dog. The dog looks happy and they are in a garden. You can also write about your favorite hobby, your family, or your dreams. As you get better, try writing longer sentences or combining ideas into paragraphs. Reading your own writing aloud is also a great practice. It helps you check if your sentences sound natural and improves your pronunciation. Connecting reading and writing. Reading and writing go hand in hand. The more you read, the better your writing will become, and vice versa. Reading helps you learn new words and understand grammar, while writing gives you the chance to use what you've learned. There are many online tools and resources to help with writing. Some websites can check your grammar and suggest better words. You can also join English forums or groups where you can share your writing and get feedback from others. Final tips and motivation. Remember, the goal is progress, not perfection. Set small, achievable goals for both reading and writing. For example, read article a day or write sentences about your day. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small it seems. Choose topics that interest you. If you love music, read song lyrics in English. If you enjoy cooking, write about your favorite recipes. When learning feels fun, it becomes a part of your daily life. In conclusion, reading and writing are powerful tools for improving your English. They help you learn new vocabulary, understand grammar, and express yourself better. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. They're part of the process. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and day you'll look back and see how far you've come. So grab a book, open your notebook, and start your journey today.